Hello, today we are here with,
Darnell Leatherwood.
and what do you do, man?
So currently, I am a presidential postdoctoral fellow at the University of Michigan.
What does that actually encapsulate?
Well, as an academic, I finished a PhD, master's and PhD at the University of Chicago, and then I went off and I was a visiting professor down at St. Louis University. Then I did a NIH postdoctoral fellowship down at Johns Hopkins University, and now I'm transitioning to the University of Michigan, and there I'll be doing research. So, yeah,
So you're a professor, right?
yeah.
I mean, you're pretty young to be a professor, right? How old are you?
35 years old. I know I look a
Damn.
little younger than that, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
you look a lot younger than 35,
It's
man.
because I shave.
Yeah, yeah. And are you also a congressman too, I heard?
Well, I'm not a congressman, but I definitely ran for Congress in 2020.
Okay, and are you planning on doing it again?
If I do it again, I think I'm going to run for the U.S. Senate.
And I mean, we were just talking earlier about this, but why do you want to be a professor? Why do you want to serve in Congress? What's the mission with all this?
Kennedy, I think the most important thing to articulate here is that I am most concerned with helping people live their best lives. And so what I've discovered is that, individuals can do a lot of different things, but if you can focus your efforts around a particular goal, even if it seems splintered, I think that you can really do some work that's going to be synergistic and produce a real good in the world. So ultimately, it's to help people live their best lives. So
Yeah, and it's just you're just finding different vehicles to be able to do it, whether it's a professor.
that's what it is. You know what I mean? I mean, opportunities present themselves. I like to take advantage of the opportunities. I used to say when I was coming up, you crack the door open for me, I'm gonna bust it wide open. So as I see the opportunities present themselves, I take advantage of the opportunities. And one of the reasons I'm able to do that is because I do what I have to do so I can do what I want to do. Get the stuff out the way that I gotta do. So I can have room to take advantage of these opportunities, even if they seem, kind of varied.
And why do you want to help people so much? Like, what is all that rooted in?
It's my purpose. It's my God-given purpose. I know it in my heart. I had to do some reflecting. I had to really sit down and ask myself, what am I put on the earth to do? And it came to me, in my heart. The Holy Spirit, I would call it. Told me, hey, your purpose is to help people live their best lives. Now that was a bit abstract because it was like, well, how do I do that? I'm good at a lot of things, so it's like I'm, navigating all these different opportunities. But ultimately, I just made up my mind that whatever I do, I'm going to do with excellence, and I'm going to see if I can make as much impact as I possibly can.
That's beautiful, man. And where did you go to school at?
Yeah, so I did my undergrad at, the U of I. I bleed orange and blue. It's where I got my opportunity. I actually was in the United States Navy there for a couple of years, and then I transitioned from the ROTC program to do graduate study. So I did my undergrad at Geese, which wasn't Geese back then. It was just a college of business. And then I did my master's at the University of Chicago in social science, and then I did my PhD in social policy and social welfare at the University of Chicago. And I also have a certificate in education sciences. I was a pre-doctoral fellow through the Department of Education, Institute of Education Sciences down at U Chicago. And so, I've been very fortunate from an education perspective. I recently got into a program, because I'm a professor, I don't necessarily like to talk about going back to school.
Yeah.
But I just got into the MBA program at U Chicago, so I'll be at Booth potentially. We'll see what it look like. But it's actually funny. It was a really compliment. One of the guys that was interviewing me, he had just finished the program, and we were talking. He was like, "You actually could be teaching my classes," and I was like, "No, I ain't made it there yet." And that's a wonderful thing to consider too. Just because you have a particular capacity, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to demonstrate hubris, right, when you engage in the process. I haven't got there yet. You've done the thing that I'm looking to do, even though you may feel like I have certain, characteristic. Uh, I haven't made it there to that point yet. And so it's nice, I may transition to that program, but I did gain admissions, and we'll see if I will go or will not.
College has played a big role in your life, whether it's when you were actually a student, but now you being a professor. And there's a lot of debate about whether or not it's actually worth it these days.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody that maybe is on the fence about whether or not they should go to college, whether or not it's a resource, being on both sides?
Yeah, most def. I think that ultimately you have to ask yourself the question of what you want to do with your life, and then figure out, what are the resources, the vehicles by which I can accomplish the thing that I want to do. College isn't for everyone, and it's not always necessary for you to be successful. You know, the big question becomes, what is the thing that you're supposed to do, and that's only you know that.
And that thing that you want to do you think that you have that your whole life, or does it change like as you go through different stages of life?
I think that what your purpose to do does not change. I don't think it changes. I think the way that you do it changes. One of the things that's important, I think, to really reflect on is the things that you've done for free, for fun, over the entirety of your life. And generally, if you can really pinpoint that thing that you've done for free and for fun, right, that's probably really aligned closely with the thing that you're purposed to do. And so if you can figure that out, and then you can do that for occupation, you get paid to do it, there it is. And if you go to college, you got to go to college to do that, then okay. You know what I'm saying? If you practice being a doctor when you was a kid, okay, you might have to go to medical school. But if you practice opening businesses and stuff, selling stuff, on the side of the street, you might not have to go to school for that. You know what I'm saying? Just go start up, get it start up situated, go raise some money, you know what I'm saying, change the world.
And did you have a community like this when you were in school?
No, I didn't. This didn't exist when I was in at U of I. I was, actually it's funny because I was in college of business. I got straight into the college of business. I didn't have to go through the process of, doing some general stuff and then transitioning again. And I was always kind of struck by the fact that, like, we talked about shareholder wealth so much. Like, how do we maximize, making money for, the folks that invested. And I was always thinking about, like, our stakeholders. You know what I'm saying? So, I really was thinking about stakeholders back then. Not we didn't necessarily have a community like this to really buttress, a person's desire to really do this entrepreneurial thing.
Yeah.
But I did actually do my undergrad in business management with a focus on entrepreneurship. But even in that space, this didn't exist.
Is this something that you've always had, or is this something that you've improved on over time?
Well, I think it's a natural talent. It's something that I believe I've always had a capacity for. I always say that people can only be that which they had the capacity to be from the beginning. So even if I didn't necessarily have the talent to begin with, and maybe it was sharpened over time, I believe that I could only be this way because I had the capacity to begin with. Somewhere deep inside of me, it just needed to be, brought to fruition.
How important was this ability to communicate when you were running for Congress? And I would imagine the people you're running against are a lot older than you. When they might use your age as a proxy for your competence, how do you overcome that?
One of the things I thought was most important, and I say this quickly, I think the capacity to articulate authentically put me in a position to build a team that was trustworthy, that was strong, and that was competent. There were individuals on my team who were extraordinary in the fields of endeavor that they engaged in, and it's like, okay, well, why come and coalesce around me? And I asked them one time, I was like, why are y'all doing this for free? Like, I didn't raise any money to put my team together, and they was like, because we believe in you. And I think my capacity to articulate myself authentically, right, concisely, straightforward, whatever. I think that capacity to talk to people in a real way made them feel like, hey, look, we know who he is, we know what he's providing, and we're willing to make an investment, in his work going forward. And as far as it concerns, like, my age and people looking at me like, oh, he young, you know what I mean? Like, he may not be reputable because of that. It's like, it's not necessarily the age, in my opinion. Now, of course, you want to mature. And with maturity comes a certain set of characteristics. But I believe when I open my mouth and I tell the truth, people resonate with the truth. That ain't got anything to do with age. And if they see that you're speaking the truth, and then also you have a tremendous capacity to go along with that, the potential to actually bring to fruition the thing that you're talking about, you can look at somebody and be like, that dude got the sauce. He can make that actually happen. Oh, I believe he could. That produces some kind of confidence in an individual, in my opinion. And so I believe that I've been fortunate enough, and I say this humbly, very fortunate to be able to articulate myself truthfully, right, in a way that people receive it, and then they can reflect on my capacities in a way that says, okay, the thing that he's talking about, he may actually be able to do too. And I think that breeds confidence.
You're still pretty young. What would be the one message that you would say to maybe another young person that is on that path of wanting to change the world, but maybe they're not surrounded by a community like this? Maybe they doubt themselves sometimes. What is the one thing you would say to them?
What I say to you is this. I have a couple of different philosophies to live my life by, but the thing that came to the top when you asked me that question was this. Be intrinsically motivated, but have external locus of control. I'm a beast. I can do anything, and that's without anybody's permission. It doesn't matter if you have a community around you or not. Now, of course, social capital matters. You know what I'm saying? Community matters. I'm not taking anything away from that. But if there's something that you have a desire to do, something that's in your heart, something that you truly believe in, it starts with you first. Be intrinsically motivated, go out there and get that thing because you believe that you can absolutely do it. And then exercise external locus of control. External locus of control, just say, I don't control everything around me. So even though things may not be going your way, the community may not be forming around you the way that you want. You know what I'm saying? Life may not be lifing, you know what I'm saying, the way that you want it to life. It's okay. You don't control all that. You get to control you. So despite what's going on around you, not to say that you ignore it, you acknowledge it. You acknowledge it. You got to do the work.
Well, thank you, man.
All day.